Hey, welcome back to Vox Terra. Today I want to talk about the vice presidential debate, part one. Part one about how the candidates handle climate change and the environment and the economy. Michael Pence went on chortling, I hate to say it, but kept repeating tax cuts, deregulation, unleash the energy economy. Well, what do those things really mean? Tax cuts at a time when the economy is doing well meant we ran up a big deficit even before COVID-19. Normally you'd save tax cuts when you really got to stimulate things. Deregulation, if you're reading the environmentalist literature, has meant things like raising the level of mercury that can be emitted into the atmosphere from coal-burning power plants, allowing for coal ash, toxic coal ash, which contains mercury and again arsenic, to be dumped into the waterways. It meant the Trump administration refusing to ban a pesticide that was scheduled to be banned because it was known to be linked to childhood cancer. Unleashing the energy economy, what that's really meant, has meant opening up protected areas, including attempting to open up the Arctic to oil and gas drilling and fracking, at a time when scientists are saying we got to cut way back on the burning of fossil fuels. In fact, leave it in the ground. When asked about climate change, Michael Pence said, the climate's always changing. That's a typical denial industry talking point. One that couldn't have happened had they just stuck, they meaning scientists and the environmental movement, with the original name I remember from my childhood, reading stuff in the late 1970s, man-made greenhouse effect. That name explained it all right there. We are dumping billions of tons annually of known heat-trapping gases through the burning of fossil fuels into the atmosphere. That's creating a man-made greenhouse effect. Then the name was global warming, showing we're heating the overall globe, and they changed the climate change. Don't keep changing the name, because no matter what you change it to, those fossil fuel interests, the reckless ones, are going to keep having something to say. When asked about the strong hurricanes and wildfires, Mike Pence said, forest management and hurricanes are no more frequent. Okay, I've shown you from NASA and other sources, wildfires have increased over 80% of the world's vegetative surfaces. It's not just around California, this is worldwide, Siberia, the Arctic, Australia. And it's because the planet's hotter and that heat is drying out the forests. Well, how about those floods in the Midwest that Kamala Harris mentioned, Michael Pence didn't? That's similar to why the hurricanes are getting stronger. That heat retains moisture, and when it rains, it just dumps more of it. The hurricanes, Mike Pence, sure, maybe there's not more of them if you look at NOAA, but what NOAA does tell you is they're getting stronger and they're lingering longer, and that's because of the heating planet. That hot air, again, retains more moisture. It all packs a bigger punch. The sea level has risen, so the storm surges are bigger. Mike Pence tried to put Kamala Harris on the defense by saying the Green New Deal, which isn't supported by Harris and Biden anyway, the Green New Deal will be a jobs killer. Au contraire, mon frère. I don't agree, okay? I've shown you an Oxford study that shows green stimulus, meaning supporting things that are in the Green New Deal and also in the Biden-Harris climate plan, help the average people more because you're funding solar panels, wind, regenerative agriculture, reforestation, these types of electric vehicles, these types of things create more jobs, more wealth for average people than does funding airlines and fossil fuels. Mike Pence then claimed falsely, unfortunately, that Harris-Biden want to ban fracking. Well, who doesn't want to ban fracking other than people who are directly making money in it, who want to believe in it? The environmentalists will tell you that it involves contaminating our groundwater with toxic chemicals used in the fracking process. It involves releasing more methane, more heat-trapping methane into the atmosphere at a time when we should be cutting back on fossil fuels. So Harris then countered, hey, we're not going to ban fracking. Well, that's probably very troubling to many in the environmental movement, but they all know that the Harris-Biden ticket will be better for the earth than the Trump-Pence ticket has been. But let me just address that. Luckily, I listened to Living on Earth a couple days prior to the debate. They had John Kerry on discussing the Biden-Harris climate plan. The host asked him about this fracking business. John Kerry said that it will allow for fracking on privately owned land only, and I believe he said only existing fracking and no new fracking, and that they would not support new oil and gas infrastructure. So you might question, well, why did Harris never point out the fossil fuel connection to climate change? Yes, thankfully Harris did say climate change is real and it's increasing extreme weather. But why did she not point out the fossil fuel driver behind this? Why did she make a point of saying we're going to allow fracking? Well, clearly, to understand that, you've got to think about what Bernie Sanders was saying all along. What I thought was the strongest talking point is that too much wealth is going to the top, and it's especially, I'm going to paraphrase Bernie now and put it in my own words, it's aggregating in certain business interests like the fossil fuel industry, and they're twisting the media and politics and everything else to meet their needs, even at our expense. And Bernie said if you don't get that money out of politics, he said nothing changes, but he's supporting Biden-Harris now because really something does change, just not as much as we need it to. So the problem for the Biden-Harris ticket and all of what the left would call corporate Democrats is by not making that distinction clear like Bernie did, they create confusion. And they allow for the denial industry to pose Trump as a false hero, to pose Trump as somebody standing up to the business interests when really he's a front for them. And they allow the denial industry to fill in the blanks of what's driving our heating planet. But don't get the wrong idea. I will still be voting Biden-Harris because Trump has been so disastrous for our environment. And I know, based on my experience with Democrats, that right now, they're responsive to us environmentalists. They're responsive to those of us who want a greener economy. And the Biden climate plan is a giant improvement over Trump-Pence's plan of burning the planet down. And then blaming all the disastrous results on China. And that's a typical way of taking your eyes off of what the reckless elements of the business community are doing in your own country, is blaming a foreign country. And also, if you're into the Bible, remember, there's a saying, look at the mote in your own eye before you go around criticizing the speck in your neighbor's. Change starts at home. Until next time, please subscribe to my channel. Please click that notification bell so you know when I'm putting up a new video. Please like, please comment. And please support a Patreon. And until next time, peace be with you.